There we go. Here I'm is. April 30th, 2024. You know what it's time to do. Break on through. And the very first thing I would like for you to do as you join me here tonight, I would like for you to take your break on through brew, no matter what it is. And I would like for you to join me in a toast. I don't know if any of you saw it, but Charlotte was put on the national news yesterday when a man was served a warrant for being a felon with a firearm, and he fired upon the U.S. Marshals and the police, and I just want to drink a toast to law enforcement. All the men and women that go directly into the dangerous situations and try to defuse them, and especially to the 4 who lost their lives yesterday. We here at Break On Through, and especially right here, Jeffrey K. Clayton, long-haired weirdo, unimpeachable, Heel President for life, salute you. Keep that brew close by. Ten years ago today, the guy I started this band with, the guy who made it 30 years into it with me. And as you know, recently we just played anniversary number 40. Which means it's been 10 years since Joe Young left the building. Yes, Mark, that's a beer. Old Mecklenburg Brewery Copper. Those who have had it on here can attest to its greatness. Get your break on through brew back in your hands again. We will now drink a toast to the one and the only Mighty Joe Young. Now I am going to do something here. There's been quite a few really good tributes written to Joe. A few people just took some that they wrote from a few years back and reposted them, but they're worth a read. Again, a couple that come to mind to me right off the bat was Tom O'Keefe had a really good one. He'll be on Facebook as Thomas O'Keefe. Spookies had one on Instagram. You want to take a look at that one? I'm sure there were many more, but I would like to do something right here. I'd like to read you the one that was posted by Walt Wheat, current Antiseen guitar player, last Antiseen guitar player. And this is direct from the desk of Walt Wheat. I thought this was a really good tribute, and it's brand new, so he just posted it this morning. I know you can go read it yourself, but I just want to read it to you because some people can tend to skip through. I want you to hear every word of this, okay? So here we go. From the desk of Walt Wheat. So here we are, April 30th, 2024. A full decade since the passing of the most enigmatic guitar stylist rock and roll has ever, does, and ever will know. Is that just a mushy platitude? Is it just something nice to say about someone who is no longer with us? Is it something I came up with because I couldn't think of anything else to say? No. Joe Young was an enigma because he wasn't a guitarist. He wasn't even a guitar player. He was much more than that. He was, as I stated, a guitar stylist. An exceedingly rare commodity among the vast pool of musicians the world has to offer. He didn't pick up a guitar randomly out of curiosity or boredom, or because he wanted to impress the chicks, or because he'd grown up with aspirations of emulating the guitar heroes and bands he enjoyed. He didn't spend years developing his own style, learning scales, and poring over the... I'm losing my place. Poring over the intricate, I can't even pronounce that word, of music theory. He didn't tear his hair out after work every day trying to learn all the leads on the latest Aerosmith release note for note so that his chops would rise above all the rest when his time came to shine. He picked up a guitar and started making noise. Not for the sake of noise, but strictly for the sake of Antiseen. In other words, he picked up a guitar for a cause. One he was called to on a whim, on the spot, and done on the fly. No preconceived notions, expectations, concepts, direction, long-term or short-term goals, etc. A completely uncontrived in concept as it was unexpected in commencement. Everything Joe Young did on the fundamental level was wrong by the standards of those who espouse proper technique, and he went about everything on the administrative end in the backwards cart before the horse manner that would drive most in the industry batshit crazy. But to him, anything more than how he did it was trying too hard, was dishonest, and disrespectful to the fans. Do any of us actually realize just how hard that is, though? To make and do so much with so little. As one of the fortunate few to stand where he once stood, I am frequently brought up short by how difficult it is not to overplay and overthink the music and patented tone he helped create, and how glaringly negative an impact those gaffes can have on the music and tone, and how effortlessly he made it all look. Need an analogy? He played a guitar the way Phil Rudd played at drums. Such complicated simplicity from a simply complicated man. Think about that today in relation to the indelible impact that his music has had on your life. If you're taking the time to read this, or listen to me read it, I can only assume that it did, and that the impact is deep and wide. So in taking that forward to all of us then, everything he did and the way he kept about doing it was right. Keep traveling the spaceways, mighty Joe Young. Keep showing them all how it's done. Thank you, Walt Wheat. All right. losing a founding member like that in some cases would probably stump a band. In some cases, a lot of people probably think that most bands, when they lose a key member like that, should stop. And I'm sure there are those out there who probably thought we should have stopped. But with the blessing and the insistence by Jeff Barbecue Young, and as well as I knew Joe, which he would not have wanted that to happen. Now, I know that sounds like a convenient thing to say, but I'm telling you the truth. We kept going, and we have become more prolific than we have been in decades. And I can promise you this, we will continue to be prolific into the decade to come. The latest example of that is right here in my hand. False Count Anywhere. The CD version on Death Train Records. Death Train 001 to be exact. I have a few left. We're going to bring them with us on this run we got coming up in May. After that, we may have to go for another pressing. But never fear, the vinyl will be here. And man, we got lots of good stuff to talk about as far as that goes. I won't talk about it now. But I will talk about us moving forward. And as of that forward move, on May 8th, we will be at the Star Bar in Atlanta, Georgia. May 8th in Hotlanta. May 9th, we'll be at Cherry Street Tavern in Chattanooga, Tennessee, with opening acts Josh Mayfield and Sweet Georgia Brown. May 10th, we'll be at Reggie's in Wilmington, North Carolina, with our good friends Kiff and Street Clones. On May 11th, the Tap Yard for an early show, man, 6 o'clock. And we will be joined by, once again, our pals in Kiff and my brother's new band, Dallas Tetanus. So that's going to be quite a run. And we are looking forward to it, and we can't wait to see you there. To blow this back up so I can see y'all commenting or not. All right. You know, I've been presented with some very odd gifts in my life. And I had every intention tonight of showing you one of the oddest I have ever received. But due to working in the yard with little Coleman, I came in with not enough time to prepare to get my things out, and it was given to me by my good friend Ryan Almighty. Now, Ryan, I know you said you're going to watch Break On Through tonight, but I regret to inform you that I will not be able to show the gift tonight, but I will try to show it on the next Break On Through. Which I also want to tell you that if you don't see a new Break On Through ad appear next week, it will be because there will not be a Break On Through that week. I don't know yet. I know we're going to do a rehearsal before we take off on the road, and I'm not sure how long that will take. But if I'm home in time, I'll Break On Through. Otherwise, we may do it on the road and do a tent talks through again, which I thought that was kind of fun. Which, by the way, tune in tomorrow night to Malcolm Tent's Facebook page for Tent Talks tunes at 7 p.m. You guys got anything you want to say or ask about Mighty Joe? Now it's time to do it. Before I get into this week's top 10. All right, well, nothing's happening. I don't even know if I get anybody. Okay. Marvin Haywood's one that votes for another Tent Talks through. Well, this week we have another top 10. This top 10 was requested of me by none other than firm member and video man to the band, Clinton Zilla. Which, by the way, did y'all look on Destructo Central and see the Play-Doh figure of me that one of the very talented Zilla kids made? I was very impressed with that. But this week's top 10 will be my top 10, Waylon Jennings. Can y'all dig that? Give me some thumbs. Give me some hearts. Give me what other kind of emojis are available. I saw a hugging smiley face. Good, good, good. All right, here we go. My number 10. I've always been crazy. Y'all dig that one? Number 9. Only Daddy That Will Walk the Line. Can y'all guess number 8? I know you can't. I'll get it to you right now. Are you ready for the country? Oh, yeah. Are you ready for the country? Number 8. Number 7. 6 White Horses. Number 6. The title track of what I believe to be one of the greatest country records of all time. Co-written by Mr. Billy Joe Shaver. I'm talking about none other than Honky Tonk Heroes. Number 5. Covered by us. And damn well, I might add. Are you sure Hank done it this way? Are you sure? Because I don't think so. Number 4. I'm a Rambling Man. Not to be confused with the Allman Brothers' Rambling Man. Number 3. Stop the World and Letting Me Off. Oh, yeah. One of my all-time faves. Number 2. Lonesome, Ornery, and Mean. Can anyone pre-guess what my number 1 is? For Waylon Jennings. I'll give it a few seconds. see if anyone comes up with the answer. Boy, this delay is long. Yeah, no one's taking a guess. I'll just go ahead and let it fly. My number one Waylon Jennings song of all time from that same album, Black Rose. You know, I got to see Waylon live one time. And it was a very unique position because on that very same show, I saw for the first and only time also Willie Nelson and Chris Christopherson. And Johnny Cash was also there, but I'd seen him 2 times prior. It was a Highwaymen show at Carowinds Palladium. And it was damn good. Damn good. I wish I could have seen Waylon, on his own. But I for some reason I never got to. But that Highwayman was one of those shows I know you're really seeing something special. And I was very, very glad to have been there. And I've seen quite a few of the country greats. I've seen David Allan Coe so many times I can't even remember how many times. Man, he used to play around here all the time. Seen George Jones, I don't know, probably half a dozen times maybe. I've seen Merle Haggard. Hank Jr. And man, we were supposed to go to a show to see Merle Haggard and Johnny Paycheck, which would have been wonderful. But for some reason, the tour was canceled. But when it rebooked, the bill was now it was now Merle Haggard and Gene Watson. Now, no disrespect to Gene Watson, he put on a great show, but that was no Johnny Paycheck. And all I know is me and the Young Brothers were all sitting together. We had a box seat, and we were just listening to people talk around us. Man, it seems like the popular opinion was, well, I sure am glad not that old Johnny Paycheck ain't. I thought that was hilarious. But who else? Andy just asked me if I've ever seen Red Sovine. I never have seen him. But I've seen some of the bluegrass greats, Ralph Stanley. The Osbournes, Jim and Jesse. I've seen Jerry Lee. Walt Wheat just says he saw Waylon, Jerry Lee, and Carl Perkins. It was the first show he ever saw. 5 or 6 years old. That's a hell of a first show, Walt. And Johnny Paycheck used to play around here a lot. Yeah, I never got to go see him either. But I'll tell you what though, George Jones was never a disappointment. I know about the old days, in the late '70s, mid '70s, whatever, and he was always playing around, but I never got to see him either. Well, George Jones would always not show up, but every time I went to see him, he was there. I tell you, it says, why Joe used a Telecaster guitar. I'm very curious about this choice. Well, man, I'll tell you the real reason that Joe played guitar. There were two reasons. One, first and foremost, and you may not believe this, but I tell you it's true. And that's because at the time, his hero, Bruce Springsteen, played that wood grain black pickguard Telecaster. And he also liked the fact that most of the country guys played them. And he stuck with Bruce Springsteen a long time until Bruce's left-wing politics started taking to the forefront, and then Joe kind of turned heel on him. I'll tell you something a lot of people don't know. It's going to get political, so if you want to shy away from that, you might want to bail right now. But Joe was not lifelong, but he was a long-time libertarian. Until the libertarians would not take a firm stance on the war at the time. So that's when Joe became and stayed until the end of his life a Republican. I'm telling you, we even played, because Joe wanted to do it. We played a libertarian fundraiser one time in Raleigh, North Carolina, of all places. Come on, give me a few more Joe questions before I gotta bail on up out of here. You gotta ask me something. And people think Joe used a Telecaster the entire time. That is not true. Well, the first guitar he ever used with us was, and man, you gotta forgive me. Like I said, I don't sit around thinking about the past as much as you may think I would or should. And you might say, well, it might be a good idea to think about it a little bit before you get talking about it on this show, Holmes. But I'm going to tell you this. The first guitar he ever played was a black, and it was either a harmony or a melody. I don't remember which. But he only played it for about 3 or 4 shows before he smashed it. When we played a show in this guy's living room in Charlotte named Clay Rogers, and he smashed the guitar at that show, right in the guy's living room. And Dylan wants to know if there's any wild Joe Young stories. Good gosh, Dylan, you probably shouldn't have asked that at 8:30. Oh boy, I got a ton of them. Brad says Joe going to Reliable to get the half stack was great. Yeah, we got a Jimmy Repo was like investing in us. He got us bus, and he was buying his equipment, and he bought Joe a half-stack Mesa Boogie. And man, it was noisy as amp. And that's what we recorded Southern Hostility with. And it was so, you know, and you guys know the story about Southern Hostility. We recorded it down in my mom's basement. And I don't know, man, the wiring was so bad, the ground was so bad. Man, if we plugged everything in, man, the amps were making such loud noise. Like, you know, really audibly loud. Like, not just some hiss like you hear on Southern. We had to hook up a wireless unit to get out a lot of that damn noise. Which there's still a lot. You all hear the original Southern Hostility, you know, it sounds like we're playing on the ocean. But that's what happened. And Walt was asking if it was a knockoff Strat. Not the first guitar, which, I mean, I really think it was a Harmony. But it didn't really look like a Strat. But the next one he would play would be called a Fender Bullet. And it did have the look of a Strat. And he had one other, he had one called a Fender Squire, which looked kind of like a Telecaster. It was a Sunburst. And I remember he got so aggravated with that guitar one time in Germany, he took it off, threw it on the floor, and then took a giant glass bottle of like orange seltzer water and threw it from Tom's side of the stage on the guitar. And you know what happened, man? That damn thing, that bottom of that bottle, which had writing, you know, on the glass on the bottom, it hit the top part of the guitar and just bounced and just rolled. It didn't break, but it made an indention on the guitar that had that writing or that design or whatever it was on the bottle. You could see it in the finish to the guitar for like forever. So if anyone ever sees a Fender Squire with a round bottle bottom kind of etched into it, that's where that came from. I imagine that guitar was gotten rid of in the Lenore Hickory area. Now Clinton's saying a Mosrite looking guitar. Now you're talking about when we went up north in like 87 or 88, maybe 89, I don't remember, but it was our first tour of going up north. We were playing Maxwell's in Hoboken, New Jersey. And we brought, it was my Mosrite. It was a Mosrite of California, Sunburst guitar, and something had gone wrong with his Telecaster at the time, so he used the Mosrite for that one show there in Hoboken. And there was tons of pictures taken of that show, so one other time that I saw Joe play another kind of guitar on stage was once in Philadelphia. This ill-fated tour. I've talked about this recently. What we did with the brick bat. It was a cluster, man. And something happened to his Telecaster at one show. So we're playing Philadelphia, and he had to use it looked like a Les Paul, but it was not a Les Paul. It was something like, it might have been like an Area Pro 2 or something. And oh my God, he was not happy. Not happy at all. Eric Rott, he played a Fender Twin. You're correct, but that's not how it started. The first amp Joe ever used was a crate. And it was one of those little combo amps that looks like it's an actual crate, like it's wood. And a black speaker guard. And it was just a little combo, but man, damn, it was loud. Had all the high end that we required. It was just nasty. After that, he went to using a high watt combo, but it was a 50 watt. And that son of a bitch was loud. And that amp just kept blowing, and he kept getting it fixed, and he never seemed to be able to keep it operating for more than a couple weeks. And he got rid of it, and I have no idea where that went. But that's when he started using the twin reverb. And for a spell, he was using a twin and a twin cabinet on the other side of the stage. And he had, you know, the chrome handles that you would prop out like a kickstand or something. And we would have that other speaker over there so that we could, you know, get all those piercing mid-range frequencies sawing our eardrums in half, like from both sides of the stage. And but it was a Fender Twin all the way up until he died. And we're talking, you know, probably 20 to 25 years at that point. And 20 years. The Telecaster came from our good friend Mike Cook. Great friend of the band. Was at our very first show. His band did one of their first shows, if not the first, at the barn in Boone back in October of '83. And so it went from Mike to Joe. It is now in the position. The Telecaster and the Twin Reverb are both property of our good friend, basically a family member, Steve Wenzel. So he's the one that has that stuff now. And that along with that pedal. Now I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I know what kind of pedal that was. Maybe one of y'all do. The last pedals he was using the combination of those three details were what made the Antiseen sound. And even later, sometimes I would have to do the adjusting, you know, to get it right. Because man, both of our hearing, his more so than mine at the time, was getting really bad. Mondo wants to know, did you ever have multiple? He did have multiple Telecasters. He even had a case built that held both Telecasters in, like they faced opposite directions. Neck going this way, neck going this way. Really ingenious thing. He gave that to his friend and our former roadie, CJ Witt. And to be honest with you, I do not know what happened to the second Telecaster, but that Telecaster was his backup. Because after, you know, a few years of pickups going out, the nut coming off the neck, that kind of stuff, and leaving us without any options, that's when he decided he's carrying two Telecasters, so there's always a backup. He was a big proponent of the backup. guitar, which I'm very glad. Yeah, man, we at the beginning of the band, he and I really came up with the concepts and the ideas like together, you know, and to have that guitar tone that was just so nasty and so piercing. That was all by design. That wasn't an accident. And there's still people to this day, and there's definitely people back then. So you want it to sound like that, and we're like, yeah. And they're like, all right. So that's how that all happened. I think one time Joe may have considered an SG, like he may have practiced it. He may have practiced with one a couple practices before he decided to buy it or not, and he vetoed that because I think at that point he was just accustomed to how the Telecaster felt as far as the weight. And you all know SG is way lighter, and I don't think he liked that at all. But yeah, you guys, I don't know if you noticed or not, but Walt played the Telecaster during part of the 40-year anniversary show. And we've had two guitarists since Joe, Mad Brother Ward and Walt Wheat. And each of them, you know, they try to keep the spirit of the Antiseen sound, but we did not expect either one of them. Like, hey, man, you know, you got to sound just like Joe. We never expected that. We did say it's got to sound like Antiseen. And I don't know, man. If you guys listen to this, you'll see for a fact that Walt Wheat has that dialed in. It's the way Antiseen sounds now. Well, guys, how about let's do it one more time for Mighty Joe. Dylan, did any black metal dudes reach out listing Joe Young? I don't know. They should have, and I'm sure they were, but they probably I don't know if they admit it or not. I don't know anything about that. Maybe some of y'all can do some research and see if that happened. Clinton said he couldn't read the band's name. Mateo, Joe's favorite Ramones record. Man, I don't know. Man, we were all big fans of It's Alive, you know, but I don't know. It may have been Maybe the Road to Ruin at that point. I'm not sure. I know we both listened to Too Tough to Die a lot together. Brad says Joe and Blowfly would have been an interesting conversation. Man, I'm sure there's still some of that on video somewhere. Hey, Brandon. Well, y'all, I guess I'm going to go ahead and turn it on in. And I want to thank y'all for showing up, coming and hang out with me. Listen to me ramble on a little bit. And, you know, I always appreciate you. And I think Joe would be really, really proud of the accomplishments that we have made in the last 10 years. I really do believe that. Even though toward the end, him and I did not see eye to eye on a lot of things. One thing that did remain is we still loved each other as brothers. And so, as always, I hope you all have a great week. I hope you have an even greater weekend. And whether I see you here next week or not remains to be seen. But the next time I see you, I'll see you. And if you can make some of these shows, well, it would be great to see you there. So, you guys take care. God bless you. I love you all. See ya.